My dog lovers, trust me, I'm a normal person, but I just wanted to get your attention because today we'll be talking about fleas and ticks and how to control them and how to make sure that your dog doesn't get affected by the toxic and very dangerous chemicals that are still used and on the market. I'm having a hard time to understand why conventional flea products are still used while they are killing pets every year. They're affecting them seriously. Tens of thousands of animals have been affected by different chemicals, spot-ons or internal or oral medication that has been sold, and it's still being sold. And I just want to warn you and also share a case from my own practice. In the mid-90s, I was working in a ski resort in Whistler, British Columbia, Canada. And I remember applying a topical flea product on one of my patients. And pretty much within 15 minutes, this dog started seizuring. And I was obviously terrified, shocked, and also surprised because we were assured that these products are safe. Since then, I've been on a mission to not only warn people about the danger of these products, and we now know that many of them actually have killed dogs and cats. Many of them have caused serious side effects such as seizures and others. And I also would like to kind of tell you what I do for flea control and how I've been able to eliminate chemicals and toxic substances in flea control of my patients and also my own dogs for the last 20 years. I kind of sense that we are here together because you're different. You really take your dog as a family member. You feed them well, you give them all they need to be happy and healthy. But the puzzle of flea control is often really frustrating because we don't want our dogs to scratch and itch, and fleas are disgusting and they can carry disease and tapeworm. Also, ticks are dangerous for transferring many different tick-borne diseases. So when you look at the pros and cons of controlling fleas and ticks or not, obviously we are here to control them. But many people still don't understand that the conventional flea control is not the only way to go. I still don't understand why people think that strong chemicals are actually more effective than what nature invented. And I've always been focusing and always been inspired by nature, looking into what nature does when it wants to control something or when it wants to eliminate something. And there are many plants that actually eliminate or repel insects. And that's what we based our science and our research and also formulations on. But before we get there, I just want to talk a little bit about fleas and some facts and see whether you can learn something new. It's kind of ironic that fleas are these super beings because they can really multiply in a very fast way. One single flea can lay 50 eggs every day. And from one single flea, you can have 20,000 fleas in a month. So imagine if one human could give birth to 50 children in a day and have 20,000 offspring in a month. That would be quite something, wouldn't it? We definitely don't want that. But what I wanted to say is that nature is quite fascinating when it comes to ensuring that certain species survives. Fleas can also jump 150 times their height. So imagine that it would be like 900 feet for a human. Like you would basically be jumping up skyscrapers just with the power of your legs. Wouldn't that be amazing? However, we don't want fleas to multiply. We don't want them to jump from dog to dog, and it all happens, right? Like you take your dog to a park or an area that is infested, and you come home with several fleas, and then within a month, if you don't know, you have thousands of fleas in your house. So it's super important to remember that when you want to control fleas, you have to control your house, and also you have to help your pet, your dog or your cat and other creatures that you have in your house. I was wondering whether I should start naming different brands and different products when it comes to side effects. And then I decided to give you more of a plan of how to avoid certain toxic products, because pretty much all the chemical conventional flea control is toxic. Pretty much all these products cause death and serious side effects. So instead of naming and dealing with lawyers and lawsuits and being threatened, I would like to kind of give you an idea how to search for the side effects, how to find them, which is on the Environmental Protection Agency. And also these companies have to list side effects with these agencies when they're reported. So they have to report these side effects. But there's one ingredient that is actually quite commonly listed in one of the most dangerous products and formulas, and that's isoxazoline. 1 out of 5 animals experiences neurological symptoms. There's many reports of these products being very dangerous. And if you have products that are basically waterproof, they say that your dog can swim and so on, make sure that you don't use those because they can contain solvents, and they do contain solvents that are dangerous to your dog as well. So one thing that I'm really perplexed about, how is it possible when we know that these products are dangerous for our pets, why they're still used? The other thing is that these products are not only dangerous to our pets, they're also dangerous to us, our children, and the environment. Now, when you start using chemical flea control, it does get in the environment, and one single flea collar can actually poison 23 million liters of water. And the scientists and researchers started discovering residues of flea control in birds' nests and in water, in wildlife. We also know that insects that are beneficial to our environment, to food production, such as bees and other insects, are affected by these residues and by these contaminants. So overall, conventional flea products are a disaster. I would never use them on my own pets, and I hope that you will continue watching and listening so I can give you some hints and ideas how to control fleas and what to do about them. As if this was not enough, fleas have become more resistant to flea control, the conventional flea control. Some fleas can survive 100 times the amount of flea control that normally would be fatal. So again, the resistance breeds or creates super fleas that are resistant to pretty much anything that we have in the environment. And then it becomes even more serious and more difficult for us to control them. So I hope this is enough for you to think of conventional flea control as a line that we as caring, kind dog lovers should not be crossing. One study suggests that 91% of pets that have been put on spot-on products have liver lesions within 2 years of being on these products. So if I think of my dog and thinking, okay, I want to prevent fleas, and I'll use these products that cause liver disease, would I use them? Of course not. And I think that the challenge is that most people don't even realize that there is a problem. So what do we do? What do we do? What can we do? There is a story behind natural flea control in my life. In about 2005, after 20 years in practice, almost 20 years in practice, I felt quite frustrated, mainly because I could not see all the patients that were coming through my door. I was busy, I was doing my best, but I felt like I'm in a revolving door of veterinary practice where you just try to put the fires out. And I didn't have time to educate my clients about how to keep their dogs healthy. So I felt like I have to change. I still wanted to continue practicing, but I also wanted to write and spread the information and share what I've learned. And there have been many occasions where I was humbled to learn and change my view of how I treated dogs. And flea control was one of them. I said that before, that I've witnessed a few of my patients, few dogs seizing and having neurological tremors after using conventional flea control. And when I came to Maui in 2008, I realized that fleas were a serious problem. My dog Sky, the first trip that we did to Hana, which is a very remote east part of the island, he was flea-ridden within pretty much one trip. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to use conventional flea control. But as fate has it, sometimes we run into the right people at the right time. And I met Gabriela, a herbalist, who had it all figured. She's been using a concoction of different herbs that were effective for controlling fleas and ticks. So we put our heads together. Gabriela was also a yoga teacher at the time, and I met her in a yoga class, believe it or not. So then we put our heads together and started formulating and testing different formulas, and that's how Fleax was born. So Fleax was born in the flea capital of the world, And it is based on not only science, but also years of experience with fleas and how to control them naturally. My friendship with Gabriela is very deep. We've been friends for almost 20 years now, 15 years at least. And when I had the idea of actually launching her formula, and when we tested it on my dog and other dogs of our friends, and then really saw that it was worth it, it was really working well, I came up with the idea that we should actually offer it to our community and solve the issue of toxic conventional flea control. Gabriela was first a little hesitant because, as she was saying, she was not a business person. And I was confident that we can pull it together and that we can offer our community. I felt obligated that we should be offering our community this product. Before I share with you how to use flea hacks and tick hacks, I would like to mention one more thing, and that is diet. Fleas are sugar junkies, and unfortunately, they thrive much more on dogs in an environment where dogs are fed processed food. Usually, processed foods have higher levels or higher amount of carbohydrates, and carbohydrates, whether it's starch or grain, disintegrate or digest into single carbohydrates. And fleas love single carbohydrates. They also love dogs that are not as healthy or where the skin is a little smelly. So if you want to prevent fleas, the number one step is to ideally switch your dog to natural raw or cooked diet. Now, if you can't do that, try to go for high quality processed food, but it's never as good as natural food. Nature is quite amazing. It does have ways of preventing parasites or keeping them at bay, but when we somehow affect or disturb the natural balance of the body or the environment, that's the time when parasites will step in and multiply and spread. Just a few minutes ago, I said that one flea can generate 20,000 fleas in one single month, which is kind of scary if you think about it. But you can nip it at the bud if you know how to treat fleas. So first, what you need to do is, if you discover fleas in your house, remember that if you see one flea, there's thousands and thousands of fleas in your house. You have to vacuum the carpets, wash all the upholstery, throw away all pillows and blankets and maybe old dog beds to make sure that your dog doesn't get reinfested. Some people wonder, how come I treat the fleas on my dog and then the next day there is more fleas? Well, they're hatching in the environment. And even though fleas live only a few weeks, they can multiply very fast, and you will see them be very, very resilient to controlling just your dog and not the environment. If you wash and clean everything in the environment, then use Flea Hex household spray. And you can use it on upholstery, in carpets or on carpets, in corners where your dog sleeps and so on. But you can also use it on your dog. And this is something that is relatively new. We have tested the formula for several years now, and it is very safe to use it on your dog as well as in the environment. And now tell me about other chemicals, conventional chemicals that you can spray in the house and then spray on your dog. Not at all. So what do you do next? If you've seen fleas on your dog, you have to use Flea X Wash to lather them and wash them at least once a week for 4 weeks or maybe even 8 weeks if the flea infestation is really heavy. Now, after you wash your dog, I recommend applying either Flea Hex household spray, which is safe for your dog as well, or Tick Hex, which is good for fleas and ticks as well. Now, you repeat the spray several times a week in between the baths, and after about a month, if you see no fleas, you can start expanding the period of 1 week to 2 weeks or maybe once a month. If you see 0 fleas within a month, then you're doing a really good job. However, if you've seen fleas in your neighbors' households, or if you go to places that are frequented with other dogs, you may want to apply flea spray once a week, once a month, depending how severe the infestation is. So you have to decide and you have to test it a little bit. My idea is that flea control does not need to be used all the time. I only use it when I see infestation or when my dog goes to places where there are fleas and I don't want them to bring them back to our house. So remember, prevention is easy. You just spray with the spray. If you see fleas, you have to do wash and then spray. I can't even tell you how happy it makes me feel that we can offer you natural flea control. The problem of fleas will not go away, but we can make the problem of conventional toxic flea control go away by using natural products. And we not only help our dogs to be healthier, we also protect our family, our human family, and also the environment. If you are wondering what the ingredients in Flea Hex and Tick Hex are, all you need to do is to go and click on the link above or in the comments, depending on where you're watching this video. If you have any questions, you can always come to the website petertobias.com and send us an email or give us a comment here on this platform. Thank you so much for being here, for caring about your dog and your family and also the environment. And if you have any questions, you can always reach us through the website at petertobias.com. And don't forget to subscribe here and also for our newsletter, because I try to send a few newsletters a week on how to keep your dog healthy and long living for many years to come. Thank you, and give them a hug for me. Bye-bye.